Primary school teachers in the nation's capital Yaoundé today grounded lectures demanding better working conditions, but their counterparts here in the economic capital Douala suspended the announced strike action on grounds that the Higher Education Ministry has promised to look into their plight. In this newscast, we tell you how the ad hoc committee that was put in place 2 years ago to solve the problems plaguing the education sector in Cameroon has simply failed to do its job. And also in this newscast, military officers set to be involved in clandestine transport along the Douala-Limbe Highway. Plus, the University of Douala says that it is 80% ready to host the games this 2014. You're watching the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening to you viewers. Welcome back from the weekend. You are watching the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. An ad hoc committee put in place that was 24 months ago to seek workable solutions to the problems plaguing the National Education Corps has simply failed to do its job. Some primary school teachers halted lessons today that was in Yaoundé, demanding better working conditions. Roland Akong visited some of the schools where strike actions were observed and now reports.
Many pupils did not receive lessons Monday in some primary schools in Yaoundé. Their teachers are grumbling, demanding immediate integration into the Cameroonian public service, among other problems.
We have the integration of contract teachers, the increment of the index position 1,400 for civil servants category A and 785 in the 785 for category B workers before they go on retirement, and the inclusion of sport and physical education teachers into the educational system so that they will benefit all allowances.
Their protest action is going to affect the innocent children who this shortest term have just a few time to write their end of course and end of year examinations.
We are not saying that teachers should stay at home. They should be in school, seated, but should not perform their duties.
Over 38,000 contract teachers in Cameroon are demanding integration into the Cameroonian public service since 2005. Integration into the public service, they say, give them full status as state functionaries. To them, integration into the public service means better salaries, better conditions of work, and other career opportunities.
And for the case of the economic capital Douala, the announced strike action of lecturers, which was due to begin today as well, has been suspended. A communique signed by the Syndicate of Lecturers states that the Higher Education Ministry has pledged to redress the plights of Cameroonian lecturers. It followed a meeting with Jacques Famendongo demanding that the ordinance of the year 2009 allocating funds for research and modernization allowances be simply respected. The National Education Corps has equally been calling for dialogue with the Ministry of Higher Education. Some uniformed officers involved in clandestine transport along the Douala-Limbe Highway have simply been caught. The 2nd Gendarmerie Region Commander met the discovery as he visited some checkpoints that was Sunday yesterday. Senior reporter Christoby tells us more in the following report.
It had to take an impromptu visit to the checkpoints put in place by the National Gendarmerie Commission for Road Safety along the Douala-Tiko Highway for the 2nd Gendarmerie Region Commander to feel the truth about uniformed men who, despite military injunctions, do engage in clandestine transport. Colonel Pilo Robert stumbled on vehicles driven by uniformed men, mostly elements of the Man O' War Bay in Limbe, with their military beret in front and their uniforms carrying epaulets on their seats. One of them even handed his vehicle documents on request to Colonel Emmanuel Meka Meka, who heads the commission, with a 1,000 francs note. Is it corruption?
There was an attempt of corruption where a 1,000 francs note was put inside a car document. There are many other such cases, and those concerned will be sanctioned accordingly.
And as if engaging in clandestine transport is not enough crime for this senior warrant officer of the National Marine, he equally uses his boats to convey passengers. Then the case of a civilian who equally hangs a green-colored army beret in front and puts on military t-shirts, he will have to be questioned for usurpation. But not without military cautioning.
What we have to do, in my opinion, is to contact their hierarchy, to caution their elements, to stop creating disorder on our roads.
It becomes very questionable when a uniformed officer denies presenting himself in front of his hierarchy after it has been established that, contrary to decision by the ministry in charge of defense, has definitely gone against the law, which forbids uniformed men to do public transport. On the Douala-Tiko Highway, this is Chris Toby, Equinox News.
Thanks indeed, Christopher, for that report. Now here in the economic capital, Douala, we take you to Rue Koto of the Deido neighborhood, where 2 shops were completely reduced to ashes. Sources said that the fire ignited from an exploded television set that was in one of the shops. Pamela Ndukong tells us more.
The 2 shops consumed by fire had as contents dresses and shoes, and in the other, cosmetics and babies.
We'll be very sorry for sister who watch television.
This man is a witness. He explains that they were watching television in one of the shops when the TV suddenly exploded and the fire caught the ceiling and some electrical sonet cables.
My television don't take fire. As it take fire, it explodes.
The next thing they saw was a wildfire. The fire consumed the 2 shops and all its contents. Owners of the shops only managed in vain to secure very few of their stuffs. Youths around the Deido neighborhood managed to quench the fire. But when the fire had gone wild, one person incurred wounds after trying to secure goods out of the shop. Element of the firefighting unit only came to the scene when the shops had burned to ashes, but managed to quench the fire. Sources say the contents of the shop worth $1,000,000 francs CFA.
Now, barely 6 days to the launching or the official launching of the 17th edition of the University Games across the country, the host university, that is the University of Douala, is fine-tuning preparations ahead of the Saturday's official launching event. And the university authorities say that more than 80% of the infrastructure have been realized for the 2014 edition of the Games. Jacques Ekukinge was at the university and compiled the following report.
The grandstand to host officials during the opening ceremony of the 17th University Games is still to be completed. About half a dozen of workers could be seen carrying out a different task in order to meet up with the deadline. Just close to the grandstand, another worker has the task of giving the grasses around a befitting haircut for the ceremony. Just opposite the grandstand, a group of students could be seen revising the choreography which will be performed at the opening ceremony of the University Games. The playgrounds to host the different sporting activities have also received a new facelift. The tennis, volleyball, basketball, and handball courts did receive a fresh coat of paint. Other monuments linked to the games, like the monument to carry the Olympic flames and the official monument of the game, are almost set. It is already an atmosphere of carnival that reigns on the campus of the University of Douala ahead of the official launching ceremony of the 2014 Cameroon University Games to run from the 3rd to the 10th of May 2014.
That is the face of the University of Douala less than 1 week to the hosting of the 2014 editions of the games. Now let's talk about the results of the day 16 of the League One games, which took place in stadia across the country. For the matches which took place in Yaoundé, Renaissance of Ngomo had 0 against Douala Athletic Club with 4 goals. Canon Sportif of Yaoundé lost to Union Sportif of Douala by 2 goals to 3. Astro of Douala had 5 against Sablo 0, New Stars 1 against Unisports 2, Fovo of Baham 1 against UMS of Lum 1, Babutus 2, Apejes 3. Njalakwan Sports Academy came out 0 or tie with Young Sports Academy. And for the various encounters that were so far postponed for this weekend, we have Scorpion Sportif of Ndé against Panther and Kotong Sports of Gariwa and also Tekase. Their matches were rescheduled for another date. And Brazil 2014, a series of reports continue. This time around, we talk about the participation of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. The 1982 World Cup was a historic tournament for the Lions because it marked their first appearance in the games. The Lions were eliminated in the group stage but went home undefeated throughout the tournament. For Hansen Chanji now takes a look at the participation of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon.
The FIFA World Cup evolved tremendously in 1982 with a paradigm shift from a European and South American affair to the whole world. Africa and Asia, who were in the past underlooked, were given more chances of participating in the tournament. For the first time since the inception of the games in 1930, teams were expanded from 16 to 24. With this increase, Cameroon and Algeria represented Africa. The country of Roger Milla qualified for their first time and was drawn in Group 1 alongside Peru, Poland and Italy. This World Cup debut by Cameroon was fantastic for the players and the country and a good beginning for the Indomitable Lions. Though they failed to qualify to the second round, they went home shoulders high, unbeaten. In their first game, they faced Peru and played a virgin tie, then a second goalless draw with Poland and a surprise 1-1 draw with eventual champions Italy. This draw thanks to a goal by Grégoire Mbida.
But at least they might commit more players forward. They've got an opening here, and Mbida's got it.
Many football lovers and pundits criticized the linesman in the game Cameroon-Peru for ruling Albert Roger Milla offside, who according to them was onside. Roger Milla was denied a goal, which will have leapfrogged Cameroon to the second round.
La ejecución, se echan las manos a la cabeza. Vamos a repetirlo porque parece que el gol lo ha anulado Water. Hay gran pitada en Riazor, la gestación es fenomenal, el golazo sensacional de Roger Milla, pero el gol...
Albert Roger Milla later had several opportunities to score, but all attempts were futile. Their match with Italy was spectacular, and though they had same points with the Italian side, the Squadra Azzurra qualified because of goal differences. Other countries that made their debut in the 1982 World Cup were Algeria, Honduras, Kuwait, and New Zealand.
Great shot from Koundé. That's the sort of long-distance effort that might well worry.
That is the first ever participation of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon in the World Cup. We are just 45 days to go. Thanks indeed for Hansen for that report, bringing us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. But before we go, primary school teachers in Yaoundé today grounded lessons. That was this Monday, demanding better working conditions. But however, their counterparts here in the economic capital Douala suspended their announced strike actions on grounds that the Higher Education Ministry has promised to resolve their problems. Now, the military officers involved in clandestine transport that was along the Douala-Limbe Highway, and also the University of Douala, which is saying that it is 80% ready to host the 2014 edition of the Games. We thank you so much for joining us, wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs.